This podcast is brought to you by Reynolds & Reynolds. There are 3 waves of AI transforming our industry. Explore what they are, where AI technology is headed, and what these emerging innovations mean for automotive retailers at rayray.com/AI-waves for more info.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. I'm Jake Neer in Detroit, in for Kellen Walker. Today on the show, new vehicle prices just hit a record high, and buyers aren't flinching. Hybrids are surging, and 2 brands are leading the charge, and GM is putting pressure on its suppliers to automate. Plus, BMW of North America CEO Sebastian Mackensen joins the show to talk about the redesigned X5 and how he's chasing a 4th straight U.S. sales record.
Every month starts with a 0. Every quarter starts with a 0, and whenever we finish 2026, we will go at work in 27 and make the best out of it.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. New vehicle prices have hit a record high, and they're still climbing. The average marketed price of a new vehicle ended June at nearly $52,000, up almost 5% from a year ago. That's according to Automotive News and Catalyst IQ Vehicle Price and Inventory Tracker. Compact sedans saw the biggest jump, up 12% year over year. But Rick Wainshall, Vice President of Analytics at Catalyst IQ, says buyers aren't flinching, turn rates are up, and vehicles are selling faster despite the price hikes. Hybrids continue to have their moment in 2026, and Hyundai and Kia are leading the way. Both set June sales records, with hybrid volume surging 74% at Hyundai and 187% at Kia. Honda was also up 17% on strong Accord and CR-V demand. Industry-wide, hybrid deliveries likely rose more than 9% in the first half of the year, according to Cox Automotive, even as the overall market declined. J.D. Power and Global Data put hybrid share at 16% of retail sales in June, while EV share softened to 7.4% after federal tax credits expired. And General Motors is rolling out a first-of-its-kind automation policy for its suppliers. GM recently launched what it's calling the Overall Automation Maturity Index, pushing suppliers to score a 4.5 out of 5 on a scale ranging from manual operations to so-called smart factories with AI-driven robotics. 3 supplier executives told our colleagues at Crain's Detroit Business that falling short risks losing future GM business, though GM says the program is a goal, not a mandate. Joining me now to talk more about this story is Kurt Nagel, reporter at our sibling publication, Crain's Detroit Business. Kurt, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Thanks for having me.
So what's driving this new policy from GM?
It's a few different things, but mainly the reindustrialization of the U.S., bringing manufacturing back to the U.S., poses an issue for automakers and auto suppliers. One of those big issues is the labor dynamic. You need people, and wages are going up exponentially. So GM sees this, and they see these labor costs spiking throughout their supply base. And the answer for that to them is automation.
It's interesting, too, because there seems to be a disconnect about what suppliers are telling you and what GM is saying, that suppliers see this as, if they don't meet these goals, they risk losing business. GM is saying this is just a goal. So what's with the disconnect?
Yeah, and I want to give GM the benefit of the doubt. They just had their Plant Moran supplier index scores where they had pretty high rankings and positive feedback in terms of their partnership approach to suppliers. At the same time, there's certainly worry about this push because GM's not doing it just for fun. right? There's a purpose here. There's a reason why GM is saying, you supplier need to audit your plants. In some cases, we're going to come out and do that for you, and we need you to work toward these goals. Now, how aggressively they decide to implement toward those goals remains to be seen, but suppliers are rightly a little bit worried going into this, I think.
So who foots the bill?
That's a great question, and that also remains to be seen. It's a big concern for suppliers, right? Because sure, automation theoretically comes with significant cost savings on the back end, but the upfront cost associated with investing in expensive robotics and artificial intelligence and software management programs, et cetera, that is not free. And so it's still, the jury's still out on who is going to pay those upfront costs, and then who's going to benefit from those theoretical cost savings in the long run.
This is really interesting, Kurt. I appreciate your reporting on this, and know that there will probably be more to report on this in the future. I think it's a fascinating story. Kurt Nagel of our sibling publication, Crane's Detroit Business, thanks again for joining us on Daily Drive.
Yeah, thanks as always, Jake.
Coming up, BMW of North America's CEO, Sebastian Mackensen, talks about the redesigned X5 and whether 4 straight U.S. sales records is actually on the table. That's next on Daily Drive.
3 waves of AI are transforming our industry as we know it today. Hear from AJ McGowan, Vice President of Research and Development at Reynolds & Reynolds, on all 3 waves of AI in automotive, where we're heading, and what the latest cutting-edge innovations mean for automotive retailers.
So I want you to picture what it would be like on that same Tuesday morning that we talked about earlier with a full agentic infrastructure in place. Your service manager wouldn't start the day by reading reports. Ray hands them 3 ROs that need attention and tells them why. Your sales manager wouldn't spot check calls. Ray already routed the ones that mattered. The GM doesn't reconstruct yesterday. Ray reconstructed it overnight and gave them a summary. And your controller doesn't have to pull the deal level analysis every Friday. Ray runs it on Thursday and flags anything that's worth a conversation. Decisions can get made earlier in the day with better information by fewer people. And that's what the agentic wave actually feels like in your store. It feels and sounds a little bit like science fiction, but at the end of the day, it's not. It's just a faster Tuesday.
If you're interested in exploring how AI can improve operations at your dealership, visit rey.com/AI-waves. That's rey.com/AI-waves.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Jake Neer. The redesigned BMW X5 just made its debut in Spartanburg, South Carolina, where it's been built since the very first generation. It's one of BMW's top sellers in the U.S., accounting for roughly 20% of the brand's total volume, and this 5th-generation model arrives with 5 powertrain options for the first time, including a fully electric variant. Sebastian Mackensen is CEO of BMW of North America. He's been in the role about 5 years, during which the brand has posted 3 consecutive U.S. retail sales records. He spoke with our own Jack Walsworth at the plant in Spartanburg.
Well, Sebastian, welcome back to Daily Drive. It's great to be here with you in South Carolina. This seems like a really notable moment for BMW. It's not every day the X5 gets redesigned. It's a big seller for the brand. I'm curious what this model means for BMW and for the dealers as this redesign, gets ready to be launched.
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me. It's always exciting to be in conversation with you guys and be part of the automotive conversation in general. I mean, the X5 being our first SUV ever, or SAV, sports activity vehicle, now in its 5th generation, coming out from Spartanburg once again, like the other 4, it feels like a sweet spot moment. First of all, because the product is in the sweet spot of our portfolio. Mm-hmm. It's really this all-inclusive SUV, SAV, which serves space needs, serves utility needs, but obviously serves ultimate driving machine capabilities and caters to those who like a great driving vehicle. Mm-hmm. And it's one of our top sellers in the market. Now, having said that, to get that into a new generation is a very pivotal moment and a very exciting moment. Exciting because it's emotional. It's, again, 20% of our sales in this one car, but it's also pivotal because we have to get it right. Because of this very same reasons, because we want to keep it at that positioning, and we call it dearly internally the boss, and it is really sitting in that space. It's very attractive to many segments of the market when it comes to the consumers in the market, and to bring it out now with even 5 drivetrains, first time in an all-electric drivetrain as well. It's definitely a landmark day today.
Sure. So, kind of going off that, the model will launch with the all-wheel drive version in October, and then more variants will come out next year. There's 5 powertrains. It's a lot of variety, I guess. What will that rollout look like? Will certain markets get certain powertrains, or will you try to spread it out evenly? Curious, given you got plug-in hybrid, EV, internal combustion.
Yes. So internal combustion, EV, and plug-in hybrid are pretty universal. I wouldn't say every market in the world. I mean, we export cars from this plant to 120 markets. Right. There are some markets who are almost fully electric and others who are 0% electric. Mm-hmm. But those 3 are really offered in most markets. We have a diesel offering in those markets where that is a very popular powertrain. We do not offer the diesel version in the US. And we have a hydrogen version, which will also be at first offered in selected markets only.
Okay. Have you driven some of the different powertrains on the X5?
I've driven the gasoline version of the 40 engine, and I've driven the iX5 40 as well. So those 2 I've driven personally, not the others yet.
Okay. All right. It'd be cool to kind of see them all when they're all rolled out. It's also interesting to me, like how the car kind of looks similar no matter the powertrain. Yeah. But I imagine it's probably something that customers will probably be drawn to or might appreciate, given that, it looks like a BMW, I guess.
I could have said it better. That's really our strategy, because we are convinced that people want to know a certain brand and a certain product category. Let's say in this case, an X5 SUV. And then they can take the decision which drivetrain suits their lifestyle needs and their mobility needs the best. And then they can go for whatever that is. But we don't think a customer, because of a drivetrain choice, should have to compromise on the vehicle itself. So you say they look very, very similar. I would actually say they look the same, not in every detail, right, but they're actually the same architecture, the same sheet metal on the exterior design, and the same interior customer interface, digital experience, all the same.
Very cool. I'm guessing the ICE version, will that be like the volume powertrain?
Yes. For the time being, I mean, this year we are selling 82% internal combustion engine. The remainder is either plug-in hybrid or fully electric, and that will remain the majority of our business. Will the electric drivetrains continue to grow now with the new offerings? I would say yes, but the internal combustion engine will remain in the US the dominant propulsion technology.
Okay. So this plant obviously is really important for BMW in terms of exporting. I was curious, with the X5 being such a big model for the U.S. business, does the U.S. kind of get priority for X5, or is it still part of the bigger global play? I was curious, how you.
So I give you a twofold answer.
Okay.
In theory, we order vehicles at global sales planning in Munich, and Munich talks to production and has the cars produced, and then we get them.
Got it.
So it's the same for every market. Now, we have a short communication channel with Spartanburg, and sometimes we can use these contacts to maybe call in a favor. On the other side, we have a very short time to market. So if a car gets produced in Spartanburg and it goes to the US market, we obviously can bring it to wholesale earlier than if it goes to one of the global world markets. So depending on the production cycle and the time in the year, that might also play a role. But there are times when we like to use the home field advantage.
Gotcha. Okay. So you got the iX3 launching in September. X5 will launch in October. More variants next year. It seems like 2027 could be a really big year for BMW, given that you have lots of fresh products that are SUVs that us Americans love to buy. Is 27 being a big year with kind of that expectation for BMW, or is that what you're bracing for?
Short answer, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Long answer?
Long answer is that we have 3 record years when we look at retail sales looking backwards, right? 25, 24, 23 in reverse order. 26, knock on wood. I would hope, and that's at least what we're striving for, is to make it a 4th record year. And if that works, I would agree with your assessment. So I like your view on that product cadence and what's coming out. Also the feedback from our dealers. We've seen some of the future product recently at a big meeting we had in Nashville, Tennessee. And definitely the plan is that with that product momentum, but also based on our strong network and the brand position in the market, that we will continue that streak of record years. But hey, we can never take that for granted. Right. Every month starts with a 0. Every quarter starts with a 0. And whenever we finish 2026, we will go and work in 27 and make the best out of it.
It's a big sales day. I know Q2 sales haven't been released, but how is Q2 trending for BMW?
I would say chances are high that we should be ahead of last year for the Q2 itself and for the first half year.
And then looking ahead, how's your outlook for the remainder of 26? Targetedly, we're almost halfway through the year.
That's right. I agree. We talked about that recently. We just met at NADA. Which is only, I guess, 3.5, 4 months back,
right.
But it feels like a lot has happened since then. So if we look for the remainder of the year, I mentioned earlier that we are poised to make 2026 another record year. In order to make that happen, we have to sell at least 1 car more than 2025. And I would hope that's a few more than only 1 more.
Okay. And like looking at the luxury market in general, how are things in the market? Does it still seem pretty good for being for the luxury brands? Or what are we hearing from dealers?
So for the full first half year, if we look at it, once we know the numbers from June, I think we will see a better last 3 months than the first 3 months. The first 3 months of this year and the last 3 months of last year. A little bit even into April of this year, we have seen a difficult development in the year-over-year comparison. Okay. We also had a special year last year when the announcement of tariffs and the implementation and then non-implementation of whatever measures could come led to a very specific behavior end of March, early April. Right. So we had to wash that a little bit out of the comparison numbers. But we had, including Q1, we had a bit of a rough start into the year, the industry, including BMW. We have seen a much better development in Q2. And I would say overall the market is in a solid, good situation. It is competitive. Manufacturers are being ambitious about their sales number together with their individual specific dealer networks. So it is a competitive market fight, a healthy market fight out there, but it is a solid demand at the same time.
Sure. Okay. So looking at tariffs, how is tariffs settled here under June of 2026? Does it still seem very fluid, or does it seem like it's at a more not normal pace, but kind of like the dust has settled? Or I guess how are automakers like BMW looking?
On when it comes to the tariffs which we are affected by for the U.S. business, I would say we have seen some stability. We have seen the 15% for imports from Europe. I would look at them as a pretty stable market condition right now. Where I would have liked to see something else than stability is with imports coming from Mexico, because they are still north of 25%. Right. And we have a plant in San Luis Potosí, so that's not helpful for us. And that's a bit the situation. So there weren't too many movements recently. I hope that if there are movements, that they go in the direction of supporting the global business. And again, just in case to remind you, we are also a big exporter. So like the new X5 and like the 4 generations before in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and then we ship them from Charleston to all over the world and secure jobs in the US for exported vehicles, which I think is exactly what the administration is looking for.
Right. Yeah. So Sebastian, you've been in your role for about 5 years. I think it'll be this fall. How has BMW evolved in those time, and how is it kind of remaining the same? I'm just curious. Beyond maybe the product.
I mean, that's a difficult question to answer myself, right? Because I don't like to talk about either myself or the time I'm here, because that's indirectly talking about myself. I'm glad that, as I mentioned before, we had in these years, we had 3 record years when it comes to sales growth, when it comes to absolute sales, which also included growth in share. That's something I'm really happy with, that we were able to do that. At the same time, what we really have solidified, and we talked about that in earlier meetings, is our cooperation model with the dealer network. That is really a backbone of our business success. We're typically up there on the 3rd place when it comes to the LADA Dealer Attitude Survey. And I continue to believe that is a big basis for being successful when you have a franchise dealer network and an OEM, which might have the same interest in some areas and might have not the same interest in others, to align those forces and make it possible to work in the same direction and make sure we are together serving the brand and the customer. Everybody profits of that, the dealer side and the OEM side. And that's really what I think we have underscored and enhanced even further during the last years since I'm working here. And that's something I'm a bit proud of, but I'm also happy that we can enjoy the success of that.
Sure. I appreciate the time. It's been great to spend time with the year in South Carolina and seeing the new car.
Thank you. And I hope we get you behind the wheel anytime soon.
That's for sure.
BMW of North America CEO Sebastian Mackensen spoke with our own Jack Walsworth. That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Jake Neer, in for Kellen Walker. Thanks to our own Larry Velaquette and David Phillips for their reporting for today's podcast. We also had reporting from Kurt Nagel of our sibling publication, Cranes Detroit Business. You can get the latest news on new vehicle prices, the hybrid surge, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back tomorrow for a conversation with Alex Euler of SBD Automotive about the impact of the DRAM chip shortage on vehicle tech and what it means for the industry.
What makes it especially stark for automotive is the uniqueness of the industry, the lower volume, the fragmentation of the technology generations.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.